So this is kind of a vlog that is a little weird for me to film because I kind of don't really know how to talk about everything, I guess. Well, I do, but I haven't really talked about it, I guess, is like more what I'm trying to say. Obviously, you can tell by the title of this video, and if you watch us on the daily vlog channel, you know that my husband, Charles, is getting brain surgery. If you've been following his journey, you know that this is going to actually be his third brain surgery, but it's going to be my first brain surgery with him in this relationship. And it's kind of like crazy, and it came as kind of a shock to us. We were not expecting him to have to get another brain surgery, but our last doctor visit, we found out that that's what they think needs to happen. Let me like start from the beginning, because I feel like some of you may or may not know the whole story behind my husband and why he's having brain surgery. So I think that it would be best if I just kind of like did a little brief overview, start from the beginning, and then we can go into kind of like talking why I wanted to make this video. So, my husband Charles actually plays in a band called We the Kings, and they travel all over the world. Back in 2012, he was on tour with his band, and he was with his bandmate Danny, and they were out and about, and Charles ended up doing something really funky, like walking weird, and then he ended up falling to the ground and having a seizure.
I was walking with Danny, like I got like kind of this tunnel vision, and it felt like the sides, like the roads, were going faster than me, and I was trying to slow down by doing circles. Danny said it went face first into the cement, and as of now, what we know is that I had a seizure.
So they obviously took him to the hospital to find out that he had a very large brain tumor, and it was later diagnosed as an oligodendroglioma. I'll write that on the screen so that you guys can fully know that name.
I have a tumor in my head, but it's on this side of my head. I have to get it removed. That's what's happening.
It was something that he needed to have brain surgery as soon as possible. So he ended up having a brain surgery, and before anybody even realized that he was back on tour with his band. I think it was like a short month, maybe. I have to ask him because I'm not completely sure, but I feel like he was back on tour with the band like right away. As soon as he went and got back on tour, he kind of like went back into his old ways prior to getting diagnosed with the tumor. You know, being a young guy and living life and not eating the best and drinking and partying and doing those type of things. And like about a year following his brain surgery, he had another seizure. They went in and they saw that the tumor had grown back, so he had to do another surgery. He was awake for the surgery. When they were removing the tumor from his brain, he had a weird thing happen where when they were removing the tumor from his brain, he actually went paralyzed.
I'm a little worried about my reflexes.
He ended up having to go to physical therapy following his surgery because he needed to learn how to use like his left side again. And he was in physical therapy for quite a few weeks, recovering from that brain surgery. And that was like really scary for him because he didn't think that he would be able to do a lot of the things that a lot of us take for granted, you know, utilizing his hand, being able to play his bass. He ended up recovering and doing really well. And after that point, he changed his whole life, and he stopped drinking and started taking better care of himself, and he started doing more frequent visits to the doctor to make sure that they could maintain this tumor. Okay, so those prior to surgeries, he was with his ex-wife at that time, and she was like a big help throughout the entire process and really made sure that he got all of the care and the support along with his family and his friends that he needed through those really trying times. After that, all of that happened, he ended up going on chemo, and when we first met, he ended up being on chemo, and I remember it was like a really, really hard thing for him to tell me that he was taking chemo and that he had a brain tumor, because he was so afraid that when he told me that I was going to be like really apprehensive to, you know, wanting to date him or to wanting to even start a relationship with him. But when he was on that chemo, he also mentioned to me that he had seizures as a result of this tumor, or they came about after being diagnosed with this tumor. And I never really experienced a seizure before my entire life. I had a friend growing up who had seizures, but I never actually saw them having a seizure, so I never really knew what they were. I never really understood the volume of fear that comes with seeing someone having a seizure. When we first started dating, I want to say it was like within a month of us dating, he had a few seizures in front of me, and it was like life-changing for me. I felt horrible for him. I felt horrible that he was on chemo. I felt horrible that he was going through all of these different things, and it was just awful. He's been on quite a few rounds of chemotherapy to help maintain and shrink the tumor, because on his last surgery they weren't able to get everything out, because during his awake surgery the doctor had asked him to lift his arm and he wasn't able to do that, and so they removed like as much as they possibly could without affecting his motor skills or the motor skills area of his brain. That's like the backstory. He's been on chemo. He got off of chemo for 3 years. We ended up getting pregnant. I had Remy. She was a blessing. It was literally like within months of us finding out that we were pregnant that he ended up having to go back on chemo.
They said I have to go back on chemo. Which freaking sucks. It sounds scarier than I think it actually is.
And from what the doctors told us, that it would be safest to wait at least 3 years to try and have a baby. So it was like she came at the most perfect time in the entire world. And quite frankly, we weren't even sure we were going to be able to get pregnant. So she's our blessing, and we're just so lucky to have her. After we found out that I was pregnant with Remy, he ended up going on his first round of chemo and then his second round of chemo. The process is every 2 to 3 months we would go in and he would get an MRI just to see how everything is going with the tumor. Is it shrinking? Is it growing? Is there anything different? Is there any, different highlighted areas in the brain? Things of that sorts. And every time that we've gone, he's like, there's a little change, but I don't really think there's anything to worry about. And you can't, that's the thing, like I think with MRIs, if it's not something crazy significant, it's hard to know whether it's scar tissue or it's tumor. As we were going through more and more of these doctor's visits, the most recent one prior to the one that we found out he was having a brain surgery, the doctor mentioned to us that he thought that Charles should have brain surgery. And it was just a feeling. He said it was a feeling that he had. He didn't want to make us scared or nervous or anything of that sorts, but that it was something that he kind of felt in his heart was going to be the next step. And it was a shock to us because we thought that he was going to tell us that he didn't have to be on chemo anymore. Our plan was to get pregnant or try again to get pregnant around the 1 year mark of Remy. We were hoping we could. We found out new details about how long to wait to get pregnant after you're off of chemo. So we thought Charles was going to get off of chemo. This is great. We could wait like 6 months. That's what they told us. Anywhere from like 3 to 6 months is like the new time frame that we can wait to try and have a baby, because it's out of your system within 3 to 6 months. So we thought that doctor's visit, they were going to tell us that we could get the okay in the next blah, 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 that he was going to be off of chemo. They actually came in and brought us a packet about getting pregnant, or fertility after chemo. It was like crazy, all of these different things. So our heads were just in the clouds and we were happy and just like, this is awesome. He's going to be off chemo. And then our world just kind of got flipped upside down. It was heart-wrenching. It was awful. And I've never felt so horrible for Charles in my whole life. I've never felt so horrible. Because every time we've ever talked about him getting a brain surgery, he's always said, like, if I get another brain surgery, I don't know how my body's gonna react to it, and I'm scared. And they kept telling me I can't get another brain surgery, like it would be bad. And just in our minds, it was just such a negative thing. And to hear that he had to get it, like, we're like, oh my God, the worst, most negative thing that could happen is happening. We didn't know what to think, and we were scared and nervous. And the doctor was amazing. He felt horrible because he didn't want us to freak out, but he just wanted us to know that he wasn't going to hold back, obviously, the truth on us, that he felt that is what needed to be done. After hearing that news, he said that what usually happens is doctors would get together. I don't know if it's like once a week or once a month or something of that sorts. And all of the doctors and the surgeons, and they get together, they bring their cases forward, and they all make a unanimous decision together whether or not their patient should get what course of treatment. What should happen? Do they need surgery now? Do they need surgery later? Do they need to be in chemo? Do they need radiation? Should they do anything at all? So he said that he was going to go to that panel of surgeons and doctors. They were going to have that discussion and figure out if that would be the best option for Charles. We ended up getting a call, I want to say it was like the day before our wedding anniversary, and coincidentally, or the day after, I think, our wedding anniversary. Something like that. My car ended up getting stolen, which was hilarious. My car got stolen that night, so I was outside with the cop trying to give any information that I could about my car being stolen. And while that happened, Charles got a phone call while I was outside, and they told him that he was going to need brain surgery and that we needed to come in and talk to a surgeon about everything. And it just made it all so much more real. Waiting to find that news and finding out that it was true that he was going to need surgery was just terrifying and hard and scary and just, not what we were expecting. So anyways, he had his brain surgery scheduled for the 14th of this month, but due to the coronavirus, his surgeon felt that he could wait, and he's going to get a MRI soon that would kind of decide whether or not he needed the surgery like the first week of May, or if we can wait a little bit longer, pushing it till after the coronavirus has like settled down. Reason why they waited is because, or why they chose to wait, or why that option was presented to us, was because he would not be able to have anybody in the hospital with him when he has that surgery. And a lot of the recovery process in regards to having brain surgery or just like any major surgery that's severe, they say that, obviously having family and friends or support system there is really key and vital to the recovery process. So he wants to make sure that I can be there. Now, if this MRI comes back and they say that he can't wait any longer, he's just going to have to go and get the surgery, and none of us are going to be able to be in the hospital, which upsets me and terrifies me and sucks. It sucks. So we're hopeful that we can wait a little bit longer, that the tumor isn't growing at a rapid rate since he's been off of chemo, which has been about a month or two. Yeah, about a month or two. I'm really terrible with my time right now. I'm so sorry about that. Off of this new MRI, they're going to make a solid decision on when he should have his brain surgery. So, yeah, that's kind of what's going on with that. I realize I haven't really talked about it too much. I don't really know how to talk about it a lot. I feel like it's not really my place to talk about it as much because it's Charles's life and journey, and it's something that he's experiencing, and I would hate to be like, woe is me, because it's not happening to me. He is my husband and I love him, and I would be lying if I wasn't scared, but this isn't happening to me. So I haven't really talked about it because I didn't want it to be about me, or at least to come off like it's about me, because that's not my intentions whatsoever. But I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't scared and nervous, but I'd also be lying to you if I didn't say that I was incredibly confident that everything's going to be fine. We met his surgeon, and his surgeon is incredible. He came in and he answered all of our questions. He was super informative, and he even presented questions to us and provided an answer to those questions to us that we didn't even think about asking, which even brought even more comfort. And he told us that Charles is young and he doesn't think that he should be dealing with this anymore in his life. He shouldn't. He's too young to be having his third brain surgery. It should not be happening. And he felt super confident that he would be able to get all of the tumor out, which is so crazy to hear. And when he told us that, this whole fear and nervousness that I've had and I've been having for a while, it brought us a sense of relief. I don't know. The surgery I know is going to be coming soon. It has to come soon. Charles is doing his best to stay positive. He's one of the most positive, incredible people I've ever known my whole life. And I can't imagine what's going through in his mind that he hasn't really talked to me about, because I know it's hard for him to talk to people about it. He talks to me when he wants to, but I don't really pry because I don't want to make him uncomfortable. But he's like the strongest, most incredible person I've ever met in my whole life. And he always has a smile on his face, and he always has a joke in his back pocket, and he always has something sarcastic to say in regards to what he's going through in his life, even though it might be the scariest thing in the world for anyone and for him. He still knows how to put on a smile on his face and make everyone around him comfortable, and I just like admire that about him so much. He's going to be getting brain surgery, and like I said, I have to stay positive for him. I have to stay positive for our families. I have to stay positive for myself, for our baby, for our friends, and I am. And I want him to know that things are going to be okay, and that I know things are going to be okay, even though it's so freaking scary right now. The waiting game is like the worst, and I hate that we have to wait, and I hate that this crazy stuff is happening in our world right now, and it doesn't help at all to the situation. But I know that I do know in my heart that things are going to be okay, and that he's going to be okay. But I wanted to give you guys that little update. I kind of just wanted to kind of tell you how I was feeling and my side of things, and just my thoughts on all of it. I hate that he has to go through this, but I just know that he's an incredibly strong guy, and I know that he's going to get through this, and our families are going to get through this. We'll all get through this, and it's just, I'm going to be a support system there for him and do whatever I can to help him through this, and I'll just keep you guys updated on that process. He wanted me to come on here and kind of talk to you guys about it, which I was super surprised about, but he thought it would be good for me to talk about it. I don't know if I've fully processed what's happening, but I know it's going to be okay. I just do. I just know it's going to be okay. But thank you guys so much for watching today and listening to me chat. And it's kind of nice to talk about it and not have someone necessarily say something back to you, because you can really get your full thoughts out. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's it. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.